Urgent breaking news, viewer discretion advised. The wrestling world has been turned completely upside down, and what I'm about to tell you will absolutely shatter your heart into a million pieces. Right now, as I'm recording this video, Becky Lynch is somewhere in a hospital corridor, tears streaming down her face, waiting for news that could change everything forever. Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah, the visionary, the man who has given everything to this business we all love, is fighting the biggest battle of his life, and this time, it's not inside a wrestling ring. If you're not ready to have your emotions completely destroyed today, if you're not prepared to see what real love and real pain look like when they collide in the most devastating way possible, then you need to click away right now. Because what happened during Monday Night Raw this week wasn't just another wrestling injury. This wasn't just another storyline. This was real life crashing into our world of entertainment in the most brutal, unforgiving way imaginable. Monday night started like any other episode of Raw. The crowd was electric, the energy was through the roof, and Seth Rollins was doing what he does best, putting on an absolute clinic inside that squared circle. But at 9:47 p.m. Eastern Time, everything changed forever. One moment that lasted less than 3 seconds has now thrown the entire WWE universe into complete chaos and left Becky Lynch's world completely shattered. Seth was in the middle of what should have been a routine match, nothing too dangerous, nothing too risky. Just Seth Rollins being Seth Rollins, giving everything he had to entertain the fans who paid their hard-earned money to see him perform. But wrestling is a dangerous business, and sometimes, no matter how careful you are, no matter how experienced you are, tragedy strikes when you least expect it. The injury happened so fast that most people in the arena didn't even realize what was going on at first. Seth went for a move he's done thousands of times before, a simple, basic maneuver that he could execute in his sleep. But something went wrong. Terribly, horribly wrong. The sickening sound that echoed through the arena when his body hit the mat wasn't the usual thud of a controlled landing. It was something else entirely. Something that made seasoned wrestlers at ringside immediately know that this was serious. Becky Lynch was backstage when it happened, getting ready for her own segment later in the show. She was probably going over her lines, maybe grabbing a quick snack, doing the normal things that wrestlers do when they're waiting for their turn to entertain the crowd. But then she heard the commotion. She heard people running. She heard voices that were trying to stay calm but couldn't hide the panic underneath. When Becky rushed to the curtain to see what was happening, she saw something that no wife should ever have to see. Her husband, the love of her life, the father of their beautiful daughter Rue, was lying motionless in the center of that ring. The medical team was already surrounding him, and even from her position backstage, she could see that this wasn't just another injury that would heal with a few weeks of rest. The cameras caught Becky's face the moment she realized what was happening, and I have to tell you, I've been watching wrestling for over 20 years, and I have never seen such raw, pure terror in someone's eyes. This wasn't acting. This wasn't a storyline. This was a woman watching her entire world potentially crumble right before her eyes. Security had to hold Becky back from running to the ring because the medical team needed space to work. Can you imagine how that must have felt? Your husband is lying there, possibly fighting for his life, and you can't even get to him. You can't hold his hand. You can't tell him everything is going to be okay. You just have to stand there and watch as strangers work frantically to help the person who means everything to you. What happened next was the longest 23 minutes in WWE history. That's how long it took for the medical team to stabilize Seth enough to get him onto a stretcher and into an ambulance. 23 minutes of absolute silence from a crowd that didn't know whether to cheer, to pray, or to just sit in stunned disbelief. During those 23 minutes, Becky Lynch aged about 10 years. You could see it happening in real time. The color drained from her face. Her hands were shaking so badly that she couldn't even hold her phone steady when she tried to call someone, probably her mom, probably Seth's mom, probably anyone who could help her make sense of what was happening. The worst part was the uncertainty. Nobody knew how serious the injury was. Nobody knew if Seth would be okay. Nobody knew if he would ever wrestle again. Nobody knew if he would ever walk again. The medical team's faces were giving nothing away, but their urgency told a story that nobody wanted to hear. WWE officials were scrambling to figure out what to do with the rest of the show. How do you continue with entertainment when something like this is happening? How do you go back to scripted storylines and predetermined outcomes when real life has just invaded your carefully controlled world in such a devastating way? When the ambulance finally arrived and Seth was being loaded into it, Becky made a decision that showed exactly what kind of person she is and exactly what kind of love she and Seth share. She threw off her wrestling gear, grabbed her street clothes, and demanded to ride in the ambulance with her husband. WWE officials tried to convince her to wait, to follow in a car, to think about the logistics. But Becky Lynch wasn't having any of it. "That's my husband," she reportedly told a WWE executive who was trying to convince her to handle the situation differently. "That's the father of my child. I don't care about anything else right now. I'm going with him, and nothing you say is going to stop me." And that's exactly what she did. Becky Lynch, one of the biggest stars in WWE, one of the most recognizable faces in all of professional wrestling, climbed into that ambulance and held Seth's hand during what was undoubtedly the scariest ride of their lives together. The photos that have emerged from that ambulance ride are absolutely heartbreaking. Becky, still in her wrestling attire, sitting beside Seth's stretcher, holding his hand with both of hers, whispering things to him that only she and he will ever know. Her makeup was completely ruined from crying, but she didn't care. Her hair was a mess, but she didn't care. All that mattered was being there for the man she loves during what could have been his darkest hour. What followed was an 8-hour surgery that felt like 8 years to everyone who loves Seth Rollins. Becky never left the hospital. She never went home to check on their daughter. She never took a break to eat or rest or do anything else. She just sat in that waiting room, surrounded by family members who had flown in from all over the country, waiting for news that would determine the rest of their lives. During those 8 hours, the entire wrestling world held its breath. Social media was flooded with prayers, well wishes, and messages of support from wrestlers, fans, and celebrities from all walks of life. The hashtag #PrayForSeth was trending worldwide within hours. Wrestling rivalries were forgotten as everyone in the industry came together to support one of their own during his time of need. But none of that mattered to Becky. She wasn't checking her phone. She wasn't reading the messages. She wasn't doing anything except waiting and praying and hoping that the man she fell in love with would be okay. Fellow wrestlers who came to the hospital to show their support said that Becky was like a statue in that waiting room, completely focused, completely present, but also completely terrified. The response from the wrestling community has been absolutely incredible, and it really shows you what this business is all about when you strip away all the entertainment and storylines and corporate politics. These are real people who genuinely care about each other, and when one of their own is in trouble, they drop everything to help. Triple H, who has had his own issues with Seth in storylines, was at the hospital within 2 hours. Roman Reigns, despite being in the middle of his own storylines and commitments, flew across the country to be there. Even wrestlers from other companies, people who Seth has never worked with directly, sent messages and offers of support. But the most touching response came from someone you might not expect, CM Punk. Despite his complicated history with WWE and his own issues with the company, Punk posted a heartfelt message on social media that simply said, "Seth Rollins is one of the good ones. Sending all my love to him, Becky, and their family during this difficult time." The fact that personal and professional differences were immediately set aside shows you exactly what kind of person Seth Rollins is and exactly how much respect he has earned from his peers throughout his career. Now, I want to talk about Seth's incredible strength during this entire ordeal, because even though he's the one who got injured, even though he's the one fighting to recover, he's been showing the same courage and determination that has made him such a beloved figure in WWE. According to sources close to the family, when Seth first woke up after surgery, his first words weren't about his injury or his pain or his fears about the future. His first words were, "Is Becky okay? Is my family okay?" Even in his most vulnerable moment, even when he was facing the biggest challenge of his life, Seth's first concern was for the people he loves. That's the kind of man Seth Rollins is. That's the kind of character he has. That's why he's not just a great wrestler, but a great human being who deserves all the support and love that he's receiving from fans around the world. The recovery process has been incredibly difficult, both physically and emotionally. There have been good days and bad days. There have been moments of progress and moments of setbacks. But through it all, Seth has maintained the same fighting spirit that has made him successful in everything he's ever done. Becky has been by his side every step of the way, and their relationship has become even stronger through this tragedy. They've shown the world what real love looks like when it's tested by real adversity. They've shown that their partnership goes far beyond their professional wrestling careers and touches something much deeper and more meaningful. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of this entire situation has been watching how it has affected their young daughter, Rue. She's too young to fully understand what's happening, but she knows that something is wrong. She knows that daddy is hurt and that mommy is sad, and that's a burden that no child should have to carry. Becky has been trying to maintain as much normalcy as possible for Rue while also being there for Seth during his recovery. It's an impossible balance, and it's taking a toll on her both emotionally and physically. Friends close to the family say that Becky is running on pure adrenaline and love, but everyone is worried about how long she can maintain this pace. The extended family has stepped up in incredible ways to help care for Rue and provide support for Becky during this difficult time. Seth's parents have been staying at their house, helping with day-to-day activities and making sure that Rue feels loved and secure despite all the chaos happening around her. But the most touching moments have been when Seth is strong enough to FaceTime with his daughter from the hospital. The joy in his eyes when he sees her face, even though he's dealing with his own pain and uncertainty, shows you exactly what motivates him to keep fighting and to keep pushing forward. The question that everyone is asking, but nobody wants to answer, is what this means for Seth's wrestling career. The truth is, nobody knows. The injury was serious enough that his career could be over, but it's also possible that with time and proper rehabilitation, he could make a full recovery and return to the ring. What we do know is that Seth's immediate focus isn't on wrestling. It's on healing, on being there for his family, and on taking things one day at a time. He's not making any decisions about his future right now because his focus is entirely on his present recovery and rehabilitation. WWE has been incredibly supportive throughout this entire ordeal. They've made it clear that Seth will have a job with the company regardless of whether he can return to active wrestling. They've covered all his medical expenses and have provided support for his family during this difficult time. That kind of loyalty and support from a company shows you how valuable Seth is not just as a performer, but as a person. But the reality is that if Seth can't return to active wrestling, it would be a devastating loss for the entire industry. He's only 38 years old, he's at the peak of his abilities, and he still had so much more to give to the wrestling world. The thought of his career ending this way, through no fault of his own, is something that keeps fans awake at night. Throughout this entire ordeal, Becky Lynch has shown strength and courage that goes far beyond anything she's ever displayed in a wrestling ring. She's been dealing with her own fears and worries while also being the rock that Seth and their family need during this crisis. Becky has had to make incredibly difficult decisions about her own wrestling career during this time. She's missed shows, she's turned down opportunities, and she's put her own professional aspirations on hold to be there for her family. And she's done all of this without complaint, without resentment, and with a grace that has impressed everyone who has witnessed it. The strength that Becky has shown during this crisis has earned her even more respect from fans and fellow wrestlers alike. She's proven that her toughness isn't just a character she plays on television, it's who she really is as a person. She's shown that when the people she loves are in trouble, she will move mountains to help them. But everyone who knows Becky is also worried about her. She's been carrying an enormous emotional burden, and she's been trying to be strong for everyone else while dealing with her own fears and anxieties. The stress of this situation is taking a toll on her, and everyone hopes that she's also taking care of herself during this difficult time. The response from WWE fans around the world has been absolutely incredible. The outpouring of love, support, and positive energy has been overwhelming in the best possible way. Fans have organized prayer circles, fundraising drives, and awareness campaigns to show their support for Seth and his family. The messages that have been sent to Seth and Becky from fans around the world have provided comfort during some of their darkest moments. Knowing that millions of people are rooting for them, praying for them, and sending them positive energy has given them strength when they needed it most. But what's most impressive about the fan response is how respectful it has been. Fans understand that this is a private family matter, and they've shown their support without being intrusive or demanding information that Seth and Becky aren't ready to share. That kind of maturity and respect from the fanbase shows how much the WWE Universe has grown and matured over the years. As we look toward the future, there are still so many unanswered questions. Will Seth be able to return to wrestling? How will this experience change him as a person and as a performer? How will it affect his relationship with Becky and their family? What impact will this have on WWE's programming and storylines? The truth is, nobody knows the answers to these questions yet. What we do know is that Seth Rollins is a fighter who has overcome obstacles before, and he's not going to give up easily. We know that Becky Lynch is one of the strongest people in the wrestling industry, and she's going to continue being there for her family no matter what challenges they face. We also know that the wrestling community, from the biggest stars to the youngest fans, is going to continue supporting Seth and his family throughout this journey. The bonds that have been formed and strengthened during this crisis will last long after the immediate emergency has passed. What this situation has reminded all of us is that wrestling, at its core, is about human beings who put their bodies and their lives on the line to entertain us. It's reminded us that behind every character and every storyline, there are real people with real families and real lives that can be changed forever in an instant. Regardless of what happens with Seth's wrestling career, his legacy in the industry is already secure. He's inspired countless young wrestlers, he's entertained millions of fans, and he's shown what it means to be a true professional both inside and outside the ring. But more importantly, Seth has shown what it means to be a good husband, a loving father, and a decent human being. His response to this crisis, his concern for his family even in his most vulnerable moments, and his determination to fight through adversity have inspired people far beyond the wrestling world. The love story between Seth and Becky has touched hearts around the world, and their strength in facing this challenge together has shown us all what real partnership looks like. They've proven that their love is stronger than any storyline, more real than any character they play, and more enduring than any championship they might win or lose. As we continue to follow Seth's recovery and support his family during this difficult time, I want to leave you with a message of hope. Yes, this situation is scary. Yes, it's heartbreaking. Yes, it reminds us how fragile life can be and how quickly everything can change. But it also reminds us of the incredible power of love, the strength of the human spirit, and the amazing support that exists within the wrestling community. It reminds us that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves, and that when one of us is hurting, we all come together to help. Seth Rollins may be facing the biggest challenge of his life, but he's not facing it alone. He has Becky by his side, he has his family supporting him, he has his fellow wrestlers rooting for him, and he has millions of fans around the world sending him their love and positive energy. That's a powerful force, and I truly believe it's going to help Seth overcome whatever obstacles lie ahead. Whether that means returning to the wrestling ring or finding new ways to contribute to the industry he loves, Seth Rollins is going to continue making a positive impact on the world around him. The wrestling world is holding its breath, waiting for good news, hoping for the best, and preparing to support Seth and his family no matter what the future holds. Because that's what family does, and the WWE Universe truly is one big, complicated, loving family that takes care of its own when times get tough. Remember to keep Seth, Becky, and their daughter Rue in your thoughts and prayers. Remember to show your support in positive, respectful ways. And remember that behind every wrestling storyline are real human beings with real lives, real families, and real challenges that go far beyond what we see on television. This is Wrestling News CC, and we'll continue following this story and providing updates as they become available. Thank you for watching, and remember, in wrestling and in life, we're all stronger when we stand together. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Wrestling News CC family, where the real stories of WWE come to life. See you in the next one.